So this video was initially going to be titled Sematary Worst to Best, and was going to include a ranking of all of his projects, similar to the Blade video that I made last year. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that the entire reason that I wanted to make a Sematary Worst to Best video was just to shout out his 2021 mixtape, Screaming Forest. Ranking Screaming Forest highly was pretty much my one hot take, and I was prepared to spend more time talking about it than most other projects in Sematary's discography combined. These projects in particular I've barely heard at all. These ones I don't return to often, but I like several songs from. And these ones are by far my favorites. Rainbow Bridge 3 is far and away his best and most satanic work. It's Sematary at his loudest, edgiest, sweatiest, and stinkiest. Just listen to the first 2 seconds of this thing. It doesn't even sound like the same artist who made the previous 2 Rainbow Bridge mixtapes. Rainbow Bridge 3 attracted countless new fans to Sematary and the Haunted Mound Collective, and despite its polarity amongst OG Sematary fans, it remains arguably his most popular and critically acclaimed project to date. Screaming Forest, on the other hand, not so much. Released just 6 months after Rainbow Bridge 3, Screaming Forest is considered by many fans to be Sematary's worst full-length project. Being the direct follow-up to Rainbow Bridge 3 did not do it any favors for its public reception. It's like in high school when you had to present your project directly after the dickhead valedictorian. It doesn't matter if you spent weeks doing research or if you just threw something together 30 minutes earlier during lunch, your work is still going to look like dog shit compared to the Dartmouth debate club captain. After pushing his sound and style to a new level on Rainbow Bridge 3, Sematary takes a clear step backwards with Screaming Forest's intensity and overall scale. Gone are the distorted black metal samples. Instead, Screaming Forest has much more traditional sounding production, maybe what Rainbow Bridge 3 would have sounded like if it had stayed in line with its predecessors. This change has led many Haunted Mound fans to label Screaming Forest as boring, monotone, and forgettable. So why do I like this project so much? While many fans saw Screaming Forest as a downgrade to Rainbow Bridge 3, I see the two as perfect complements. Both are equally as aggressive, equally as fun, just in 2 completely unique styles. Rainbow Bridge 3 is the high fastball at 97, Screaming Forest the backdoor slider at 89. A truly devastating combo for any major league hitter. It's this reason that Screaming Forest's label as monotone is irrelevant. The overall sound of the album is fully cohesive, which could be perceived as monotone to some, consistent to others. I'd argue that Rainbow Bridge 3's songs sound more alike to each other than Screaming Forest's, which again is not to disparage either mixtape. If a few songs from both tapes were swapped between them, they would create terrible dissonance within the full track list. The intro track, I Hail the Night, is one of the stronger tracks on the tape, and perfectly sets the tone for the rest of the 30-minute experience. It's probably the same reason Sematary uses it as an opener to his setlist, even on his most recent 2024 tour. Whereas Rainbow Bridge 3 drops you straight into hell the second you hit play, I Hail the Night is a little more subtle in where it drops you. You wake up on the forest floor, alone, and a cold wind suddenly makes the trees come alive. A chill crawls down your spine. You start to run. Someone is after you. All this tension finally releases in an immense beat drop, and the next thing you know, you're getting pushed around in a brutal mosh pit. A fire breaks out. The forest is burning, and there's no way out. Now, you're just along for the ride. All night, I hail the night. Gasoline, burn the pines. I hail the night. The meat and potatoes of the mixtape is a short collection of really solid tracks, where you actually get to appreciate Sematary's vocal performances. I know that lyrics and vocal ability are not necessarily why people listen to him, but it gives Sematary's voice some personality, whereas on Rainbow Bridge 3, the vocals were too distorted and overshadowed by the instrumental to even be audible. It just sounded like someone dying in a fire. The highlights for me on Screaming Forests include Redwoods, Comma Crazy, Hockey Mask, and Spirits, but I really enjoy every track. There are no skips for me on here. It seems like Sematary made this album with live shows in mind. Most songs have a huge beat drop right at the beginning and a hard-hitting hook to sing along to. And while the show I went to earlier this year only had one song from it, I Hail the Night was the second song he played and probably the most insane. The first 45 seconds with that huge build-up allowed for the pit to open up to a really intimidating level, to the point where I saw multiple dads chilling at the back of the venue come and snatch their 16-year-old sons out of there before it even dropped. The guy standing next to me, I remember, gave me a fist bump and he was like, "I'll see you on the other side." Truly an unforgettable experience. It was really fun. I Hail the Night is a perfect opener, and the final track, Moonshine, is just as good of a closer. Of all the tracks on Screaming Forest, Moonshine is one of the least streamed on Spotify, but it might be my favorite. From the start of the album, you're lost in the forest, and once Moonshine starts playing, any optimism for survival is gone. It feels like whatever has been hunting you down through this haunted forest has finally succeeded in draining your stamina to the point that you're too weak to continue. The line, "I just want to see the sunrise," rings true. This is it. It's over. That same spine-chilling scream from the intro is the last thing you hear as the album fades out, perfectly bookending the experience. If you made it this far, thanks for watching, and consider hitting subscribe. I know I haven't really made a video in a while, but I have some plans coming up for the channel, so if you want to stick around and support, hit that subscribe, and let me know what you thought about the video in the comments. Thanks. See ya.